or have the beeper and beeper the door open and open the door and got it while she was sitting there parked somewhere and having locked the doors.
Well, there's also the possibility that she was actually jumped or approached or whatever outside the car. In fact, based on her 911 call, I have to say that that's exactly what happened, because if she had been inside the car and come under enough of an attack or a threat or whatever to have a panic call to 911, all she had to do was lock the doors and then reach down under her driver's seat where she had a gun. Mm-hmm. So obviously she made that call. She must have made that call from outside the car. Either that, or she's just a much flightier person than I had thought.
And I don't think she's nearly as flighty as that makes her sound.
Yeah, dumb enough to forget that she can lock her car, and also she's got a pistol stored under her seat.
Did you say, I may have forgotten, what seat she was in when she was found?
I didn't, because I don't know.
Okay.
The passenger door was open, so it gives me the inclination that she was found lying in the car. So I presume that she was lying across the front seats.
Very possible.
Yeah.
From passenger side, head pointing towards driver's door.
Okay.
But I also want to... you brought up something, Joe, that I want to talk about, which is, I don't understand people who just stick a handgun under the seat of the driver's seat like it's gonna Velcro itself to the floor and never move.
No, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, things bounce around in cars so much that the "I've got a gun under my seat" thing is just, I've never understood that. If you were, I strapped it to something.
You actually can put it in a holster and tie the holster, or duct tape the holster to something. There's ways to keep it from
people do it on a steering column, stuff like that. But it's just to set it there.
I don't know.
Insane.
Yeah, but we don't know that she had just tossed a loose gun under the seat.
We also don't know that she affixed it to anything.
Yeah.
So when I talked about, maybe somebody snuck into the car when she wasn't in it and was hiding there, and maybe the gun had rattled backwards, so they're crouched. It's October. They're crouched down in the back of her car. It's after 5 at night, which it's going to be dark. I'm hey, what the hell is... Oh, this is a gun.
Nice.
This is way better than the knife I brought with me.
Yeah, sweet.
These things I don't get. It does not make any sense, but...
Well, do you know what kind of gun it was?
I want to say it was a .38. And I have no good reason to say that.
For some reason, I think that too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the biggest handgun in the world, but...
Or you don't know what make or anything like that?
No. I just remember the caliber being mentioned, and that's about it. Here's the other thing about this whole her key thing and the auto lock thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the news right now as we're recording about people who are being tricked out of their cars by people either laying in the road or putting dummies in the road.
I was just going to bring that one up.
And tricking someone to get out of their car, at which point they ambush them. So it's entirely possible that Mary McGinnis Morris, drives her car somewhere down West Little York, and there's a dummy in the road, and she gets out because she thinks it's a person hurt, and then she is attacked. And maybe that's where the 911 call comes, is that she's, I don't know, but it's very plausible.
It is, except for that she had just not so long earlier said that there was a person following her that gave her the creeps. I mean, as a woman who is not a registered nurse or, anything like that, I have my sense of self-preservation comes before my sense of preserving other people's lives. But right. Especially if I had, a couple hours before been super creeped out by somebody, or, however much time, I would not stop.
Minutes. But she was also described, Lori Gemmel described it as saying that she was matter of fact about it. It wasn't, oh my God, this guy's freaking me out. I was like, this guy's giving me the creeps.
Even then, though, I would not, and I'm a different woman than this woman is, and that's fair, but I wouldn't stop for anyone, especially, I mean, normally I wouldn't stop for anyone, and then especially if I had been observing somebody that was giving me the creeps, I would especially not stop.
So when you got back in your car after the drugstore and you saw the creepy guy, would you feel around in the seat and find out where the gun was?
Probably, but I probably would have holstered it somewhere, so.
Yeah, you wouldn't have it in your seat anyway, rattling around.
So I believe that's all that we've got for this particular theory about Mike. There's some more
Mike
about
set
Mike.
up the hit.
There's some more about Mike later, but we've also still got to flesh out it was a hit, but Dwayne set it up.
Okay, let's do that.
That's sub theory number 2.
We're still on the hitman here, huh?
Yeah, we're still in the hitman theory.
We're still on the hitman that was Mr. Magoo and accidentally killed the wrong woman at first.
Correct. Got the wrong Mary Morris. So Dwayne is also super popular all over the internet as being the bad guy. And I will say that he would have known her habits because he worked with her. He knew where she lived because he had been to her house for a party once. But then again, she had been to his house once. So there's this whole thing of maybe the two men had met, in other words, Mike and Dwayne. But supposedly the man, like I said earlier, the man that she saw in the Eckerd drug was one of Dwayne's friends, which would indicate that guy was who Dwayne had hired to take her out. That all seems to kind of make sense, except for this massive problem to me of timing. Mary Henderson Morris was killed on a Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne was let go or locked out of the building on Friday.
The Friday before or the Friday after?
The day after.
Yeah.
Henderson is killed on the 12th. McGinnis gets him kicked out of the building on Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. So the whole he hired the hitman thing, like you could see him escalating to people say, well, he got so angry about getting fired that he just in a rage hired this person who then he sent back in time, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's an issue with the timeline there. So the other thing that I look at with the whole death calendar thing, the death to her, if he didn't like her so much, it seems weird, I think we talked about this before, to write that down and to make that kind of statement on a calendar. But we also don't know if it's his calendar, and we also don't know if it's even in relation to her.
Yeah,
because
you don't even know that it was written by him.
Well, the thing that
even if it was his calendar and his desk.
What I think about is that they worked in the health industry, and there is such a thing as assisted suicide, and assisted suicide is not legal in the state of Texas. However, the withholding of life-sustaining procedures is acceptable if it's at the patient's request. And I pulled up from that time the way that it's worded, because it's a little strange, but I see where the loophole is that it says the effective withholding of life-sustaining procedures, withdrawal or withholding of life-sustaining procedures does not constitute offense of aiding suicide. So it could very well have been that somebody's family came in and said, listen, Grandma's been on a ventilator for 6 months and has not woke up. It's time to turn off Grandma's ventilator. And it could have been as simple as that.
Well, maybe, except he was working, I assume, just at sort of an employee health office at Union Carbide, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's not the kind of place where you got people on, ventilators.
But they're doing health services there. I don't know exactly what happened at that facility. I'd be very honest with you, Joe. I also don't know if Dwayne only worked in that facility or as part of his job with Union Carbide was to go to other facilities. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that death to her could have meant.
What about a concert?
That's a weird band name, but okay.
Is it really, though? I mean... Death metal?
No, actually, it's not.
Or a movie. He meant, Death Becomes Her.
Well.
He was gonna go see that with somebody. I mean,
he got it so wrong.
It's not that wrong. Death Becomes Her, Death to Her. I mean, it's an unfortunate mistake given the circumstances, but it's not that weird of a mistake. I mean, granted, it seems like he would be saying all these things if any of these were the things. But
and the stuff is the fact is that McGinnis seems to be the one. Okay, I was about to say that McGinnis seems to have been the one that made all the statements about Dwayne, but then I also realized the fallacy in that statement, which is she is the one that died, and therefore all of her friends and family are recounting the things that she had said. If we flip the tables and she had lived and Dwayne had been hunted down and shot in a supposed suicide position, we probably would have heard flip side things from his friends and relatives.
for sure, yeah.
So, but the timeline with Dwayne
Oh, no, I agree with
is
that.
my biggest
It's a bad timeline.
biggest difficulty, because it just doesn't work.
Unless they're, not connected.
Which
There's the unconnected part.
which is the very next theory.
I know.
Well,
it's like I looked ahead in the script or something.
Well, they could be connected in other ways, though. Now, supposing Dwayne's a very clever guy, you had a problem with the timeline, but supposing Dwayne, after this outrageous thing where, basically it looked to me like somebody just was trying to get him fired from his job.
Okay.
He's angry, goes home, sitting around drinking a beer, cooling off, and looks in the papers and sees, whoa, Mary Morris died. Hey, cool. And then he reads the article and realizes it's not the same Mary Morris. But then he thinks about it and thinks, wait a second. If I were to knock off my Mary Morris, it would look, let's pick up the phone, let's call the newspaper, say they got the wrong Mary Morris, and then I'll go knock her off, and it'll look like a hit gone wrong.
So you have made part 1A of the next theory. I will now talk about part 1B, which is very similar. And this one, you have said they're unconnected, but it's Dwayne. I had that it's unconnected, but it's Mike.
Yeah.
For very similar reasons. Sees that she's been killed, Henderson has been killed, and this would be really convenient, and then has his wife knocked off, at which point he can
knocks her off himself.
Well, I don't think he can knock her off himself because he's at the movie theater with his daughter. So the timeline I think is too tight for that. But he could then begin this campaign of disinformation and mudslinging at Dwayne for what was maybe not such a big deal at the office to his wife, but in the retellings it becomes, as we've seen with retellings, bigger and bigger and bigger to grander scales. So both, it could be unconnected, and one or the other of them could have taken advantage of the just random happenstance of a Mary Morris having been killed.
But it would be a little different than the Dwayne theory, because if he hired a hitman, it would have taken a lot longer than just a few days to go find somebody, and have them knock his wife off, right?
If he had not been planning to have his wife killed prior to that, you're right.
Seems like, yeah.
But if he had been thinking, I want to get her killed, or he was drinking with a buddy on Saturday afternoon and the dude was like, you give me $5,000, I'll kill her.
Hey.
I'll just totally kill her.
What's to say Mike didn't call Dwayne up?
It's also possible. This is where these theories get so interwoven, because like we said, they had met.
Yeah.
They knew they at least in passing knew each other. And for differing reasons, they could have wanted Mary McGinnis Morris dead.
The other thing I'm just going to go ahead and throw out here.
This is like a throw mama from the train scenario.
Well, it's just been swirling around in my head is that, so we don't know who Mary was having the affair with, or was not, apparently.
We don't.
Not
no, I've never seen the name mentioned.
Okay, and so we're pretty sure, though, it wasn't Dwayne, and that this was all a show to keep there from being some kind of problems with HR.
As far as I know, it
Or
was
there
not
was a
Dwayne.
breakup
I had
happening?
the same thought of, could it have been Dwayne, and maybe that's what soured things between them. But as far as I know, it was not
Okay.
Dwayne. He has not said that. He apparently was in a relationship the whole time. So if it was Dwayne, he had a very good reason to not admit it.
Yeah.
And presumably the police know about this, but of course, as usual, they're being piggish about the whole thing and not sharing their files with us.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty much the end of that theory.
Yeah, we have. So let's go on to what I have as the final theory.
Okay.
Which is that they were completely and totally unrelated.
Entirely possible.
And when I stop and I think about them, and you start to look at the scenes, I mean, people always say that, well, it was the hitman and he did this, but they're not all that related to me. Mary Henderson, we don't know exactly how she was killed, but she was killed, and a couple of things were stolen. We know were stolen, and then she and her car were incinerated. Mary McGinnis Morris, was beaten, gagged, and shot, and left to be discovered and not burned.
But also in her car.
But at the vehicle is the only real similarity, and in a city that at that time had a population of over 2 million people, it's not all that surprising that a rather common name of Mary Morris, you could have in a weekend 2 people with the same name being killed.
Oh, for sure.
It's not astronomical.
Yeah, not at all.
We haven't talked about Mary Henderson Morris too much in this last half hour, I'm going to guess, as it's been so far. Let's talk about her for a minute, and let's talk about the reasons that her body may have been treated the way it was. It is entirely possible that something happened at the time that whoever did it wanted to cover up. If you think about 2000, CSI had been on for about a year. The whole country was just obsessed with blood spatter analysis. Like, everybody's figuring out how this stuff works. Okay, so what would be a motive to abduct a woman? Sadly, rape.
Yep.
Okay, so what is an easy way to hide the evidence of a sexual encounter that was not mutual with a body? You burn it.
Yeah.
You burn the whole thing, and there is not a bit of DNA evidence left over. So, to me...
But what time? I'm sorry, what time was this? It was like early in the morning?
She left her house at 6. The fire was reported at 10.
Okay.
So there's time in between for her to be caught, abducted, and taken somewhere, and then dumped and burned.
This is probably not a thing you should say, but it just seems really early in the morning for a crime like that.
Maybe the guy's been up all night.
I'm sorry,
I'm
I
really
shouldn't laugh, but I understand what you're saying.
But for some reason, it seems
For some
too
reason,
early.
it seems like the rapists would all be out and about from 9 p.m. on.
Yeah.
But
maybe,
apparently that's not the case.
Maybe this guy worked the graveyard shift.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just a dude and he woke up and was like, I'm going to do some raping today. I don't know. I mean... That sounds hideous, but that's what people do.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah.
Okay, so that to me is a reason why her crime scene would have been treated the way that it was. And as for why her wedding ring and purse were taken, but her other jewelry was left behind, well, there may have not been an immediate presumed value to what she was wearing. Maybe she was wearing ceramic earrings and a necklace that didn't have any obvious value. And why take it and then try and figure that out? That's a lot of work. Screw it. That's a gold and diamond. And I know you have cash in your purse because she was known to use cash and not credit cards. So she would have had cash in her wallet, which would encourage somebody to just take the whole damn purse. So it makes sense. Whereas McGinnis Morris, all of her belongings were there.
Except possibly for her cell phone.
Except possibly for her cell phone.
Yeah.
But all of her stuff is there. So, like, these are the MOs to me. The motives or the treatments are very, very different for one hitman to have done it.
I agree, but the other reason that you might try to cleanse a case or a crime scene like that is if you have accidentally killed the wrong person and you are trying to cover up that crime as much as possible.
There's that.
Right? You go through her wallet and go, oops, this isn't the right person at all. So you take everything and you burn it. I mean, I don't think it's great, but it could
doubt
be.
that I doubt that a husband would say, "My wife's name is Mary McGinnis Morris. Please kill Mary McGinnis Morris, and make sure you get Mary McGinnis Morris. And here's this photo of us. Look, quick. Okay, go get her." You know, the hitman is going to say, "It's the ID says Mary H. Morris,
right,
or Mary M. Morris."
Well, more than that, the hitman's got to know. He can't just like go driving around town until he runs across her.
Yeah.
He's got to know like where she lives or where she works or both, preferably.
True.
So it's hard to mix the two up. I mean,
and they cross their roots of, you know, versus workplaces versus home spaces. There was some